my name is Martin, Chief Technology Officer here at NPACT. NPACT didn't have any business basically at all, because NPACT runs government programs that we usually bring into Africa, into Asia, into Middle America, and then work with entrepreneurs on site, physically building, their business models. Lots of mentoring involved, we're flying mentors around and so on. NPACT actually grew quite a lot during that time, but we also had the need for technology, because it was a very low-tech company before, NGO typically like that, and that's why I jumped into the role of the CTO and basically built NPACT's tech capabilities. We help entrepreneurs directly. We have boot camps where founders come together. We have accelerating programs, landing pads. I have been my whole life an entrepreneur. I have several companies that I also run by side. Basically two running businesses. The one is a 3D rendering company offering services for mainly aerospace companies. We do that for big clients, mainly American airlines, airplane manufacturers. Second company is a software company. We basically build services in the software. I would say my main focus is usually on the team. Team culture is very, very important for me. Team diversity is very important, and with this everything else comes. Coming up from my own investment experience, it's always like it doesn't actually really matter which kind of product or company you're investing. You invest really only into people. If a team can execute on a fintech startup very well, I would have no problem letting them build a health tech startup right afterwards. So as long as the team itself has a good balance, good diversity, good setup, works well together, you can basically achieve everything. So it doesn't matter. It's like your mindset is all that matters. I'm an old man, so that's why quite a lot of background. Actually, my first job was a paramedic, driven an ambulance car and rescued people's life. After that, my second job was I became a fashion photographer. And as a fashion photographer, I moved to Shanghai. I started first working as a fashion photographer, but people were all looking at me and were saying like, "You're German, why do you shoot girls and no cars?" So I was like, all right. I called up my friends from Volkswagen. They brought me cars. I started putting together a car portfolio. That brought me in business-wise a couple of steps further. I found my partner in business by that time. Then they started opening a big scale 1,000 square meter studio space for shooting cars. I offered services of European high-end car photographers in China for China market. 2005, there was a big revolution happening in the market, and suddenly car photography died. Somebody invented rendering, like 3D rendering. Now all the cars rendered in 3D programs. So you didn't need a car photographer actually really anymore. That did not happen in China, but it happened in Europe and in the States. With my background, I could very much see that this might come into China at some point. So I started to set up a 3D agency in China as well. Suddenly, me as a photographer suddenly was like a businessman or a startup. That brought me then into entrepreneurship. I made all the mistakes that you can make. Lots of learning during that time. I believe that this is also now these days helping me a lot on mentoring, younger people when they start building their business, because being in their shoes and having that perspective brings the added value that I can give to these kind of businesses. My cash cow, the rendering company that was always in the background, right, and basically financing my life so that I can play around with startups, my cash cow suddenly died. Our main client, namely Boeing, you might have read in the news that the Boeing planes fell off the sky in 2019. And that was then the time where NPACT approached me. They needed a manager for Asia. Can you manage our Asia business for us? It's like basically proven that 50% of the world's turnover in 2030 will be generated by Asia. Berlin can't miss out on that. The bigger vision is that Berlin becomes a part of Asia. What we're doing here in Asia Berlin is actually exactly that. If you come and visit Asia Berlin, then you know that Berlin is already a part of Asia. Chinese, for example, to come over, stay here long term, but we also have a lot of other Asian groups here. We have a lot of Indians, Southeast Asian, Korean, Japanese, Berlin as an entry point into Europe. If we try to generalize something, I would say Berlin is very diverse. Mindsets, Berlin is a very open city for different type of mindsets. We have a very strong LGBTQ scene here, all kinds of subcultures. For example, there's a meetup group. It's very easy to find a niche group here and then test your product in there. If I compare, for example, from the crypto scene, Korea and Berlin, it's very interesting because Korea has an actual market. Like there's actually traction happening. People using crypto, people trading, people investing into crypto. Germans don't. They need ages to figure that out, but they develop that. Berlin startups are like ways ahead when it comes to ground research of these like breakthrough new technologies. That's where Germany is really strong in, or where Berlin is really strong in. In Asia, you oftentimes have the market. Here, like Europeans are very brand loyal. They don't change fast, so it takes a while for you to get your brand into the market. But it also, once you capture the hearts of the European consumer, they don't let you go. That is different to, for example, the Chinese market. Very low consumer loyalty, basically. A good connection to other entrepreneurs, branch out into the world very quickly. You have good funding options. I mean, it's not Silicon Valley, but pretty attractive still. Berlin also has a couple of policy vehicles that could be helpful. It's called the freelance visa. Freelance visa is basically something like an entrepreneur visa. Basically prove that you have an idea or that is somehow viable, and then you basically can apply for a visa with your business idea. If you do it in the right way, like for example, this is a little bit insider view now, there's two tracks of applying for your visa. One is everybody goes, and the second one is you come to Asia Berlin, and within Asia Berlin we have special people who can connect you to an agency which is called Berlin Partner. And Berlin Partner, they can apply a visa for you. And that is fast track. That's much faster. It's not absolutely guaranteed that you get a visa, but it leads to the right track. They also take you by the hand and they help you filling out all these forms. They ask you the right questions beforehand. They read your business proposal. At the moment, I'm quite fascinated, bigger area of metaverse. Since I'm coming from art side, at the same time have a large background in blockchain and in tech. Plus I have worked for 15 years in 3D. You know, all of that things come together basically in the metaverse. And for me, biggest challenge right now of like how to make them all work together. So I hope in the future I can focus a little bit more on that. I would really love to invite everybody to come over to Berlin and see the city, feel the entrepreneurial vibe here locally. Contact me, contact NPAC, contact Asia Berlin, or contact Jody. She is a great bridge builder herself, and thank you very much.